This happened about 4 years ago, back when I was a lot younger and desperate for money. It was a Friday, and my girlfriend and I wanted to go to the local casino with one of our friends just to have some drinks and lose a bit of cash on the slots. It was a cheaper alternative than going out and drinking, since you could just spend $10 and drink for free the whole night as long as you just kept playing the slots. We got there at around 6 p.m., my girlfriend and her friend dressed in their best, and me just kind of slapped together into something a bit better than just woke up. I was the only male in the group, and while I was quite slender at the time, I also had a full beard and a shaven head, so it would have been very difficult to mistake me for a female. We played the slots until about midnight, taking full advantage of the free drinks. I was the designated driver, so I just drank Coke the entire night while my girlfriend and her friend got absolutely wasted. Once the last of the money we brought with us ran out, we decided to call it quits and go home. The parking lot is on the furthest side of the casino, and we were parked on the 3rd floor. The casino's parking lot was 4 stories high, and you could either take the stairs on the left or go up an elevator on the right. On each floor, there was a massive sliding door that led to the parking lot once you got up there. As we made our way towards the stairwell, though, some chubby guy in a trench coat stumbled up to me, clearly drunk, and put his arm around my shoulder. I am quite a friendly person, so I kind of just stood there and waited to see what this person wanted before I just shrugged him off. He had greasy, curly black hair, and I remember his breath smelled like cigarettes. My girlfriend and her friend just hang back, silently laughing at me since this kind of thing happens often to me. For some reason, drunk people just really like me. He leaned in closer to me and told me that he just won big and couldn't remember where he parked his car. He pulled out a big wad of cash from his pocket and told me that if I could help him find his car, he'd give me $1,000. I was absolutely floored since that was the most cash I had ever seen in my life, and I agreed to it immediately. We walked towards the parking lot together, his arm still around my shoulder and his weight leaned onto me. My plan was to search the 1st floor with his car keys and go up to the next level if we don't find it. He had his arm around me the whole time as we made our way to the entrance of the lot, my girlfriend and her friend going towards the stairs as me and the guy walked towards the entrance to level 1. The whole time, he was just talking really loudly to me, his words slurring as he stumbled around the place. But the moment my girlfriend and her friend ducked out of sight, he tightened his grip around my neck, looked into my eyes and said, $1,000 for finding my car and anal. He tightened his grip even further and tried to grab my arm. I was stunned for a second as he started pulling me towards the elevator, his hand still trying to grab for my arm. Luckily, I used to do MMA for a few years when I was younger, so I knew how to get out of a grapple, and those long hours of training kicked in. I slipped my head out from his arm and pulled myself free before he could tighten his grip further. He frantically tried to grab me again, his fingernails raking across the skin of my arm as I pulled it back from him and took a few steps away. Immediately, he stood up straight and hurriedly walked through the door to level 1, his drunken stumble completely gone as he ducked out of sight. I ran back to my friends in the stairwell, who saw the entire thing and were laughing their heads off, thinking about how funny the whole situation was. When they saw that he left deep scratches on my arm when I broke free, though, they realized just how serious the situation was. Scary to think that they would have just stood there and watched me get taken, thinking it was just some drunk guy messing with me. So, to the guy who pretended to be drunk and tried to drag me into an elevator, let's not meet again. This happened many years ago when I worked on the 14th floor of an office building in San Francisco. I started work at 8 a.m. before the building opened, and the front doors were still locked. The front desk security usually got there around 8:30. I used my fob and walked into the building's 1st floor, which was nothing but a lobby and 6 elevators. Immediately, I see someone standing there, right in front of the elevators with a huge jacket on and a hood covering his face. He doesn't look at me, but just keeps staring at the elevators. I was usually the only person in the building that early, My coworker, who also started at 8 a.m., would sometimes arrive the same time as me, but usually I rode the elevator myself. I press the up button and wait for the elevator to arrive as the person just keeps standing there in front of the furthest elevator, elevator number 6, from the entrance. Something you need to know is that the elevators are locked until the building is open, so you have to put in a code, and each floor has a separate code. So, for instance, my floor's code was 141414 or something like that, and if you punch it in, it took you to the 14th floor. Also, 5 of the elevators go only to the 10th floor. Only elevator number 1 goes to floors 11 through 14. So, as I wait, I hear the person whispering to himself. He steals a glance at me and looks forward straight at the elevator again. I'm kind of freaking out at this point, but since you need a key to get in, I still sort of assume he must work there and is just waiting for the elevator. Elevator number 6 opens and he walks in. I stay waiting for elevator number 1 to get to my floor, but feel instant relief as the doors shut behind him. As I can hear my elevator still traveling down to the lobby, I realize his hasn't started moving up. Instantly, I realize that he doesn't work there, as he clearly doesn't know how to use the code to get it to move. The doors to elevator number 1 finally open, and I rush in and start punching in my code. Right as the doors are about to shut, I see a hand grab them and force them open. He gets in, and the doors close as the elevator starts going up. He presses the button for floor 5, but it doesn't light up, and the elevator just keeps going and passes the 5th floor. He's not looking at me, but kind of just whimpering and grabbing his arm and keeps reaching into the inside of his jacket. I don't say anything, but just kind of move into the corner as far away from him as possible. He just keeps looking at me, whimpering and rocking back and forth a little, his hand now just inside his inner jacket pocket, fumbling around. The elevator gets to the 14th floor and I book out, and he just stays in the elevator. My office had the entire floor, but there was still another locked door to get into our lobby from the elevator. I run towards it with my key in hand. I start to unlock it when I realize, like a fucking movie scene, the lock won't turn. Our doors were glass, and I see my coworker already at his desk inside looking at me, realizing something is not right. I look behind and see the guy in the elevator is now running full speed at me. His teeth are gritting and he is screaming and growling, and things feel like they're in slow motion. I start pounding on the door, and somehow my key instantly clicks. The door opens and I slam it behind as he smashes right into it. My coworker and I called 911, but the worst part was it took them like 20 minutes to arrive. We had to just stand there by the front glass doors and watch the guy, who was pacing, putting his face against the glass and licking it and screaming at us. He couldn't leave the lobby because you needed a code to get down, so we just had to watch him until the police arrived and arrested him. Yeah, let's not meet again, please.